This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
This is Tim Beck, head coach of Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. Shout out to the Fun Belt Podcast.
This is the Fun Belt Podcast, part of the Believe Network.
Hosts the Dusty Thibodeau of Warhawk Report, Jeremy Harper of Howl Razor, and Shane Metlin of the Daily News Record.
I think it's potentially a very good week for the Sun Belt.
But I'm just kind of going off on a random rant. It's just frustrating. It's
Hello, Sunbelt Fanatics. You are the Sunbelt Fanatics. I'm Jeremy Harper. That's Tibbs. That's Shane Metlin. We're here to discuss magical Sunbelt action. I'm glad you guys are all here. You guys are looking good. Have you been working out? Shane, I know you've been working out.
I've been walking a lot.
Ooh, okay. Yeah. Taking like those, are you like one of those Easterners that has like a wooden stick and maybe like a scarf around your neck?
No, I haven't ventured out. I'm not hiking. Okay. I could be hiking because I'm in hiking country, but I'm just walking around the neighborhood.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, all right. So I need to warn you because I just read an article last night that freaked me out that ticks are like becoming a major problem. Like there's an explosion of ticks here in the United States. And just not just the regular old deer ticks or dog ticks, but a whole wide range of ticks that are crawling up into the Northeast. And did you know that some ticks can reproduce asexually and make clones of themselves?
That sounds like a party there, Jeremy. And is that what the Iranian government said that they were going to give us for centuries to come?
That might be the bomb, the tick bomb. I tell you what, if they're weaponizing ticks, I'm surrendering. I'm done. I can't take ticks. Shane, have you ever pulled a tick off your body?
Yes.
It's disgusting.
I've pulled a leech off your body. Have you ever done that?
Have I ever done what?
Pull a leech off your body.
No, I have not. I have not done that. Have you ever found a tick or a leech on your nut?
No.
That happened to my brother, and my second grade teacher had to pull it off. Yeah, you move down to Arkansas, and you're gonna get some nut ticks. Anyway, Tibbs, you lived in Louisiana. I imagine ticks are as big as like dinner plates.
We got a city called Tickfall. Of course we do.
Speaking of ticks, this is a
leeches.
Leeches. That might be the way to look at it. There are rumors floating around, Tibbs and Shane. Shane, especially, I know that you, as being a real journalist, have your fingers right on the facts. The rest of us, we're all in conjecture right now. It's all like rumors and innuendo and accusations. But there's a rumor floating around that there might be some shifts amongst the conferences heading into 2025 season. Chiefly among them, spearheaded by this new 7-member Pac-12. It's 8 members with Gonzaga, but they don't play football. This 7-member Pac-12, what I call the Pretend 12. It's Washington State, Oregon State, and a bunch of people they stole from the Mountain West. And now they're looking to bolster it to at least 8 and perhaps 10 members. Shane, have you heard anything about this? Have you heard anything from your crack sources?
Yeah, I've heard about it.
Okay.
No, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. Like they're preparing for Texas State to leave at this point. I mean, I think everybody else in the Sun Belt's been getting ready for the potential that Texas State were going to leave for a long time. They've probably had some discussions about who might be a good replacement and things like that. But it seems like it's going to happen at this point, doesn't it? I mean, it seems like they're maybe it's a full bowl of soup waiting for the Bobcats somewhere else.
The literature surrounding this idea of Texas State to the Pac-12 is pretty, like excited about the idea, right? We're going to the Pac-12. In fact, I saw a ridiculous thing on social media that I guess it was maybe a Texas State leaning account, but it implied very strongly by actually saying it that they were about to join a Power 5 conference. The Pac-12. Tibbs, is this Pac-12 anything close to a Power 5 conference?
No. I mean, it won't even have an automatic bid into the CFP. It barely will have 8 members. I mean, we're struggling to make any kind of check marks for it to be legitimized. But guys, let's look at it like this. If they won out, in the words of Craig from Friday, bye, Felicia. I mean, if you don't want to be here, you don't want to contribute, take your Boobas cups and GTFO and let somebody else win the Boobas.
Here's why I'm a little bit put out, for lack of a better word. I agree that I think if Texas State leaves, Sunbelt has no shortage of people who would like to come in. And some of those people who would like to come in, I guess we'll discuss in a little bit, are probably better geographical fits, better rivalry fits than Texas State. But here's why I feel put out by these type of things, is that when we brought in Texas State was an FCS school that had what I like to call, and we've spoken about it at length, FCS mentality. Yeah, they didn't want to put money into certain things like a nutrition table. They wanted to go by bus to places. They didn't have the facilities. They didn't have the investment. But man, the Sun Belt was patient with these guys. They waited. They nurtured. They let them grow. They put them on a stage to where they'd be allowed to grow. And lo and behold, Texas State actually grew to be a good FBS program, not just in football, but baseball, basketball, track and field, all the sports. And now here they're like, hey, it's time for us to bail. I guess that's why I sometimes feel a little put out, even though I don't feel like they would be missed very much. Shane, am I right to feel put out?
I can see that. I mean, I haven't been hanging around here as long. So
that's right. You're going to do
a little different feeling for me, maybe. Like, to me, it's Texas State. We mentioned the Boobas Cup, so I give them credit for that. But
yeah, good work.
But I mean, it's since expansion, they've been a little bit disappointing in football, a little bit disappointing in men's basketball.
Yeah.
Had some success in baseball, but a little bit disappointing this year in baseball. The Sun Belt has better brands. If you're talking about who draws eyeballs, who has fans show up consistently to a variety of sports, things like that. Like, there's better brands, there's bigger deals in the Sun Belt, frankly. Like, it's a weird situation. I can't remember a realignment situation where, like, the team that was bailing, it was like, yeah, I kind of understand why you're going to go, but nobody left behind really cares that much. We're not going to be any worse off, like, whoever we replaced you with. Like, it's a weird situation. When Texas and Oklahoma leave the Big 12, people in the Big 12 are pissed. Like, the Big 12 is hurt, damaged by that. Like, when Houston and UCF and all those leave the AAC, everybody's mad. Like, they don't want them to go. Like, this is one of the first times, like, I kind of remember, yes, the school is being pulled away by what I think probably is a bigger deal conference. They're going to have more TV money. They're going to have programs that were in the Power 5. The Power 5, like, that label just doesn't matter anymore. But Oregon State, Washington State, those were power programs. You're grouping with them. You're going to Boise. Like, I get it. I get the appeal, but it's also just like, I can't think of a time in all of this realignment for the past couple decades where it was just kind of like, you're getting pulled away as like a prize, but the conference that's losing them doesn't feel rejected or hurt at all.
Yeah, I think part of that, Shane, and Tibbs, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this because you were here for this too. When Middle Tennessee and Western Kentucky left, it put a panic into a lot of the Sun Belt because one, we didn't have a whole lot of teams to begin with. I think we only had 10 at that time, and we lose these 10 teams. And two, there were at that moment, two of the more stable, consistently good programs in the Sun Belt. I know Middle Tennessee had a lot of football success. Western Kentucky was beginning to have a lot of football success. Plus, they were a good basketball program. So to lose those two programs felt like, oh, crap, we are losing a significant portion of our talent. But Tibbs, with a 14-team league that we have now, where there's a lot of great brands, as Shane said, does losing Texas State have that same kind of sting?
It does, only for the simple fact you would be at the odd man 13-team league if you don't add anybody. Yeah. But if you don't add anybody, which I think is an option on the table, you do away with the divisions, which kind of makes the Sun Belt unique that it's the only divisional conference out there for football. So I think that's one of the things. And then the other thing is that it all depends on how they leave. Do they leave like Middle Tennessee where they're giving you the finger and running out the door? Or are they doing a Western Kentucky of, no, we're loyal. We're going to be here until the sun goes down on the Sun Belt. Meanwhile, they're backdooring every which way they can to sneak Big Red out like he's the president and the Secret Service sneaking him out the back door after a threat.
Yeah, that's a good point because I don't think that Texas State has made any deceptions here. I mean, they're not saying no, we're not looking, and they're not really saying, oh yeah, absolutely, we're looking. But they've been fairly open about that, Shane. I mean, at least they're just like, hey, of course we're looking, of course we're checking it out. We'll kick the tires on that. Wouldn't you go if you could? Don't you feel like, Shane, they've been fairly open about it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's been any kind of secret. It wasn't like that time when, I mean, to take it back to Oklahoma and Texas, everybody was shocked.
Yes.
It was like, it went from this could happen to an hour later it happened.
It was like that.
It hasn't been like that at all with Texas State and the Pac-12. It's just, the thing is though, if Texas State leaves, you can go with 13, like you said. I don't think you go 13 permanently, but maybe if it's a year and a half, and you're just waiting to see who the very best program you can bring in is, I could see putting up with only having 13. Plus, I mean, you probably are splitting that ESPN Plus deal with a little bit more for everybody if you do it that way. Wait and see if you can do better than to open up this part of the conversation. Wait and see if you can do better than Louisiana Tech or Western Kentucky. If you can't, then fine. Those programs are fine. They're good. Mm-hmm. They're solid programs. You bring them in. The Sun Belt is not any worse off than they were with Texas State, but maybe you actually end up improving if you wait and see what happens if, say, Memphis also bails for the Pac-12 and the AAC starts to kind of fall apart again.
So here's my biggest reservation, and you can call me the homer of the ULM guy, anti-tech guy.
Hey, listen, Tibbs, we are not going to do that. Shane and I are going to stand behind what you're about to say 1,000,000%. You don't have to worry about us calling you a homer. We know that you're going to have an even-keeled opinion on this, devoid of emotion. So let's hear it.
Look, I found the petition online signed by two people. One was Schmarper and Schmetlin. I don't know who they are, but they signed it to kick ULM out. So I know that there is a movement. But no, look, I'm not a fan of having 3 teams in the conference in the same state. And that would go for even if we were able to get UAB, if we were able to get Jacksonville State, if we were able to get really anybody, Kennesaw State. I don't want that much power in one state because knowing, being a Louisiana guy, right? The politicians are crazy. They're very bound to screw the entire budget up and kill funding for universities at the drop of a hat. And then what does the Sun Belt Conference do when you've now have 3 schools, a bigger bulk of your conference, now not knowing what's next for them?
I think there's actually a legit argument that you've made there. 3 teams in one small state is a lot of teams. So maybe that automatically takes care of whatever this draw that Louisiana Tech has. And maybe Shane is right in terms of maybe we just wait. I mean, you're right. We don't have to jump on it. We could just let them, build a portfolio, maybe a PowerPoint presentation. And when at the time of the Sun Belt's choosing, make that decision. There really isn't a rush.
Yeah, I think the 3 teams in one state debate is an interesting one, because I've never kind of thought that was that big of a deal. You're talking about 3 out of 14. It's not like with the ACC used to be 9 teams and 4 of them were in North Carolina and they just controlled everything. Like it's not necessarily like that. But I think Tibbs has a good point though. Like, especially in a state like Louisiana where there's been some, major budget concerns. There's been some major funding concerns at the state level. Like, what if like that really? What if they say like, yeah, like Division I athletics? If you're not LSU, forget about it. Like,
right.
And then you've got 3 teams that are like really facing a crisis. That's, I think, a different argument maybe than just like, too much power in one state. Like, I don't know if this necessarily would be the case in Georgia or North Carolina or somewhere, but like, I think you do have to kind of worry a little bit about it in Louisiana. not to disparage Louisiana, but we know that there's some weird stuff in the state house there.
I told you, Jeremy, he's anti-Louisiana. He hates ULM. He hates.
I don't know
he
why
hates McNeese even. How do you hate McNeese?
I don't even know why Shane's.
I mean, if Will Wade was still at McNeese, I'd be saying everything in my power to say, let's bring McNeese.
It's that East Coast snobbery that we've learned to expect from Shane Mellon.
So, guys, we can debate this of adding the teams for football all we want to, because at the end of the day, that's what really drives it. But right now, we can focus, and maybe it helps our case. Maybe this is what allows us to land Alabama, even though that gives us 3 teams in the state of Alabama in the conference. We have a team 1 win away from the College World Series Finals. Superfan Brian Quiggs was there, fresh back off of Omaha. First of all, condolences on the Beer Bats not being able to make it back.
Oh,
damn the man or the TSA for confiscating such legendary instruments.
I mean, it was part of the Omaha trip that did it. There's so much to do in Omaha. I was so tired in the airport that they're like, hey, we can't let you take these. And I was like, I don't have the energy to fight this. Keep them. I'll buy a new one. I had one of those for like 5 years. It's probably time for a new bat anyway. And then I got a pretty cool surprise that one of my friends actually made me a bat. So it all worked out in the end.
So fresh back there from Omaha, what was the sense like? Was it kind of a shock and awe, like, God, I can't believe that we're actually here, whoa, little Sun Belt with Murray State, or was it, yeah, we've been here before, we won it before, we're going to do it again?
So I didn't go in 16. If I had went in 16, I think that would have been the feeling. It's like, oh, this is awesome to be here. Like, how cool to be a part of this. And like I went with my dad, you have Father's Day watching your team in Omaha. That's awesome. But with this team in particular, it was very much like, we're supposed to be here. Like, this is what we've been built on the entire year. And it's not an insult to the Sun Belt. Like, Sun Belt, I've always said, top 4 baseball conference. It's awesome. But we never talk about winning the Sun Belt. Beginning of the year, it's always, we got to get to Omaha. Whether we win the belt or not, we're going to be in the postseason. We have to get to Omaha. And I said it going into the postseason, like 3 years ago, we were 1 win away from a Super.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You chose to hit play on this podcast today. Smart choice. Progressive loves to help people make smart choices. That's why they offer a tool called Auto Quote Explorer that allows you to compare your Progressive car insurance quote with rates from other companies. So you save time on the research and can enjoy savings when you choose the best rate for you. Give it a try after this episode at progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
2 years ago, we were 1 win away from a super. Last year, we were 2 wins away from a super. Like, we're always right there. It was getting over the cup and then finally getting there.
You left Shane speechless there on that.
I thought you had something to say, Tibbs.
No, I'm waiting on y'all knuckleheads to chime in.
Yeah. Well, take me through, I guess, the experience. Like, it's kind of one of those things I've always wanted to do is get to Omaha, experience the whole thing. Was it every kind of thing you kind of thought it was going to be as far as, I don't know if you made it over to the Jello Shot Challenge or like the way they adopt teams, the locals adopt teams when they get there. Was everything you kind of hear about it being and more?
How much time we got on this podcast for me to talk about this Jello Shot Challenge? It's awesome. Everything there is awesome. The biggest thing I'll say that you can't really experience till you're there. The ballpark's not as big as it looks on TV. It's still big. Don't get me wrong. It's amazing. But like when you see it on TV, you're like, I don't know how any of these kids hit it out. And then when you get there, you're like, oh, it's deep, but it's not ungodly big. The setup for Omaha itself, like how they set around everything around that ballpark is phenomenal. Rocco's, the Jello Shot place, is right outside the exit. The owners of that bar, they own the bar right next door, Lefties. So they have a nice setup right there. We talked to the owner, and they said, because we were like, you make so much money off this week. Like, how much money do you bring in? Is your whole year made off this? And he goes, a lot of people think that. He goes, they bring in $20,000 worth of alcohol a day. And that's just for them to survive one day. So it's a big party atmosphere out there. But going off the Jello Shots, they need to switch up the counter somehow. It's great. All that money goes to charity. It's really great they do it the way they do. But like I went there on Friday night, I spent 2 hours there and I dropped a lot of money. And there wasn't that many Jello Shots going around. And all of a sudden you come out and you look at the board and LSU has somehow gained 20,000 Jello Shots. Because when you buy them online, they put them on the board, but they don't hand them out. So it's kind of like they need a board of who's drinking, who's actually at the College World Series versus who's giving to charity.
So I'm wondering, among the fan bases that are there, who are the most obnoxious and who are the most gracious?
So I will put it this way. I didn't have any bad experiences with anyone. Everyone very much is very nice. It's like everyone knows it's an honor to be there. So, I mean, Arkansas and LSU, that's a conference thing. They got in some things. The biggest, if we want to call it an issue, the biggest issue I had is Arkansas fans do that call the hog thing all day. I'm fine with it in the stadium. That's your thing. But when I'm eating lunch at the bar, I don't need to hear you guys call the hog. That was the only thing that got under my skin. I was like, guys, it's noon. Like, you guys play at 6. Save it for 6.
See, the Chanticleers, they need to develop some sort of obnoxious call, like a cuckoo. I don't know what. Actually, I don't know what Chanticleer says, but there's got to be something that's just as aggravating, right?
I mean, one of my favorite moments is after Morrison came out, Oregon State scored, and their fans just started going, "Yo, let's go OSU!" Like they started that chant, and so quickly we started a "Let's go Coastal" chant that I looked over at their side and they all just stopped. We are not the biggest fan base in Omaha right now. We are by far the loudest and the proudest fan base in Omaha right now. There's no one there who can outdo what we're doing.
Was there a little sense of camaraderie there with the Murray State contingency, knowing that neither one of y'all, in the big guy's eyes, neither one of y'all are supposed to be there, so y'all go do y'all's own thing?
So it's a little bit like, I know, as I said, I didn't go in 16, but all the people that went in 16, they told me that, like, we were Omaha's team. You could very much feel that we were not, no one was against us, but everyone was for Murray State. That's just, they're always going to pick the little guy. And everyone was like, hey, we remember you. We know, it wasn't like, hey, the little guys are here. We remember you. We know what you can do. We're proud you're back. We're happy you're back. With Murray State, it was very much like, hey, you guys, whatever you guys need, enjoy this week, enjoy this moment. We will take care of anything you need.
First year head coach, and I say that with kind of an asterisk there to it, Kevin Schnall. I think I said that right.
You did.
If he wins it all, does he just retire?
No, that man is the epitome of Coastal Carolina. He'll give it all to Gilly, and rightfully so. But it's just, that's something special about Coastal baseball that's not really talked about enough, in my opinion, is Gilly played here. And then Gilly came back and coached here forever. And he coached Kevin. He coached Matt Schilling, who's the first base coach. He coached Chad Oxendine, who's the third base coach. A bunch of the bench coaches, like Connor Owings, national champion. He's a bench coach. Mickey Beach was a student manager here. He's a coach. Everyone has a tie into this team. And Kevin, as you know, as you said, you almost put an asterisk on first-year head coach because he's been here so long. Played here, stayed here. And as you saw in that press conference, that fired everyone up. He's so proud of this school, and he doesn't want any disrespect towards the school. So you better know how to say Chanticleer, or he's going to correct you on the national stage to make sure this brand keeps growing and we get the respect that we should have.
I took it the complete opposite. I'm no longer saying Chanticleers. I'm saying Chanticleers or whatever's incorrect, because if that's what's got him there, keep firing away, baby.
I know Kevin on a bunch of levels. I've known him for a couple of years. He might be the most intense man I've ever met in my entire life. It's not a baseball thing. It's a life thing. He just demands perfection. If you are not bringing perfection to him, how is he supposed to bring perfection to you? So it goes both ways. So he just demands every detail better be perfect when you come to Kevin.
Caden Bodine, I mean, remarkable player. There's something in the Till water up there when you go from a Grayson McCall, obviously the coaching legend there of Cliff Ellis, Caden Bodine, Eric Brown, everybody in between. What makes him so special and makes him that next kind of Mount Everest type of Chanticleer?
He is special in a way that it's no matter what he's done, he acts like he's been there before. Like, he hits that home run in Auburn in the 10th inning. Massive moment. He drops the bat. Not even let's go. He hits one earlier. He screams, let's go, around first base. In the 10th, just rounds the bases. Been here before. Hit one earlier. We still got to get 3 outs. There's no look beyond what's going on. Just in the moment, like, hey, been here, know what we got to do. And he just keeps everyone focused. And I know everyone looks at the graphic that they put up of how many strikes he's stolen. And a lot of people give that to, like, oh, that's just Sunbelt umpires. And it's something he works on nonstop. He works with a former Coastal player who I'm really good friends with, who works in the major leagues for the Marlins right now. His name's Joey Singley. They work during the summer, just constantly receiving, just how you got to get it. And if you work on it that much, you're going to get to a point where you're just this good at it. And that's what he does, just works nonstop.
So, Quigg, there's been a little bit of debate, not a huge debate, but if you're a fan of a Sunbelt team, not necessarily the Chanticleers, but another Sunbelt team, is it all well and good to be rooting for the Chanticleers to run the table for the College World Series? Or should a Sunbelt team or fans of other Sunbelt teams be saying, eat shit?
I wouldn't blame anyone for saying eat shit. I talked to a couple Southern Miss fans.
Yeah.
They said they weren't going to watch.
Wow.
And I don't blame them. I've always been that way because you're just jealous. And that's not me like talking shit, being like, oh, you're jealous of us. It's just like, I remember, as I said, the last 3 years we've been so close. And it's like you watch these games and you go back to, what if we got that hit in the 8th inning against, this team? And you just constantly reminded of how close you are. It's that we're a damn good baseball conference. So all these teams are looking there like, hey, if they're there, we can be there. I mean, Troy should have been in, period. But how the hell do they feel? They're like, oh, yeah, we're the only guys to beat them in a series. They're sweeping postseason teams against the SEC right now. We beat them. And that would drive me up a wall. So, I mean, yeah, I would root for it just to be like, hey, our conference has a national title. That's cool. But at the same time, if someone's like, eat shit, I don't want to watch this, I'm not going to blame them. I would feel it in my core the same way.
So Superfan Quiggs of the Chanticleers, his advice, however you feel about it, you should just roll with it.
Yes. Don't switch up. Don't start out with eat shit. And then if we get to the finals, be like, okay, now I'm on the bandwagon. Just stay in your lane, go with your gut and go with it.
Stay true to yourself and you will never go wrong.
Exactly.
So you got about another week there of Chanticleer. Oh, I forgot. I'm not supposed to say it that way. Shanties of baseball. How long after that before you kind of flip the switch and start getting ready for another season on the teal field?
I give it some time. I really do. Probably early August is where I'll really start looking at football. It's just, you need that time, because especially if you start looking at it on Tuesday, you're like, okay, it's football season. You're just going to look into so many minute details and drive yourself crazy. I get it. Football drives America, whether it's the NFL, college, or not. But even me, when I look at everything, I just need some time. And it's just like, if you start about a month out and then you start really looking at, okay, we added this could become this could become that. Then by the time opening kickoff's there, you're ready and you're excited. You're not worn out and being like, okay, well, now I've overthought of what our deficits could be, and I've overthought this, and I don't know what this team could be. I just get ready for a month early, and then by game one, you're already thinking we're unbeatable and we're the greatest thing in the world.
There it is. The true words, as we say, death, taxes, and Quiggy shots pregame, and, of course, celebrating the games on the backside. Thanks for joining us there. We look forward to chatting with you later on when the Shants are doing their thing on the teal field again.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You chose to hit play on this podcast today. Smart choice. Progressive loves to help people make smart choices. That's why they offer a tool called Auto Quote Explorer that allows you to compare your Progressive car insurance quote with rates from other companies. So you save time on the research and can enjoy savings when you choose the best rate for you. Give it a try after this episode at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Yeah, we'll talk about it after we win the Natty next week.
Absolutely.
So, guys, Superfan, they're back. They're invading the podcast. I love hearing the voices of different fan bases because guys like Quigley, they're the guys there. They're there week in, week out. They know the ins, the outs, the players, and everything else going on, things that we may not necessarily know about going there into game day.
And he was filled with fan wisdom. Yeah, I liked what he had to say about you don't have to root for another Sun Belt team if you don't want to. But if you do, we welcome that too. I thought that was nice. That was nice, Shane. I wish Shane could be more like that.
Yeah. And I get it, especially if you're Southern Miss, if you're just not feeling it this time around. But I also feel like Sunbelt missed out on Coastal winning the national championship by a day. Missed out on
Hours.
Yeah, missed out on Marshall winning a soccer championship right before they joined. JMU beats Oklahoma in the Women's College World Series like shortly before joining the Sun Belt. We got to have it happen with a team that's firmly in the league. Like, let's just be glad it's not Texas State on the way out too. Like that did this. Let's celebrate this as a conference for what it is, and that's happening with a firm, devoted member in Coastal Carolina.
Don't worry, ULM will win another national title in water skiing, Shane.
That's true.
Speaking of water skiing,
do I go water skiing?
No,
I've never been water skiing.
Speaking of water skiing, I didn't know if there was a neat segue into our next topic there.
Oh no, but
okay.
I do have a great segue for you there, Jeremy.
Okay, I'm ready. Let's hear it. I want to hear it.
A sport that ULM will not be able to contribute a national title in, women's tennis, falls by the wayside over budgetary and athletic resource cuts. But we're not alone. There have been 26 programs that have been cut this year around the nation. And it's crazy when you hear some of the places that are cutting.
Okay.
UTEP killed women's tennis, ironically, a week after they played at ULM.
Okay.
Purdue, Fort Wayne, they're D1 in the Horizon League. They killed off football and softball.
Man.
ULM's opener, St. Francis, dropping from D1 to D3 so that they don't have to play the NIL and all of the house settlement type of navigations.
Yeah.
Even Stanford
has
killed off sports, killing fencing, field hockey, and rowing. So I know everybody is going to throw the shots at ULM. They're the softball shots of, oh, well, they're broke. They're bad at athletics. You know, the tennis team was like 3-40 or something like that over the past 2 years.
Yeah.
But you know what? It has nothing to do with that. It's all the dollars and cents and preparing for this new day and age of college athletics with the revenue share and trying to make sure that you have enough funding for these new roster limits that are coming up.
Shane and Tibbs, do either one of you guys play golf?
No.
I like to go to the driving range more than like actually walk the course.
All right. Well, I play some golf. I kind of grew up near a golf course, so I played a lot of golf as a kid. I continue to play golf as an adult. And you go through these golf courses, like in the 90s and early zeros, golf really hit like a huge upswing, for lack of a better word. Everybody was golfing. Golfing was a huge recreational sport. Everybody was getting out there. Golf courses were opening up left and right. It was a big boom for the golf industry. And then, like everything, it sort of plateaus and starts going down. And you could see some of these golf courses that opened up or had expanded or had made improvements. You could see some of the things they were letting go. Like maybe the roughs were getting a little bit weedy, or maybe the sand traps were getting a bit clayey, like nobody was filling them up with good sand anymore. And the sand traps especially are always something aggravating to me. To me, it's like, if you can't afford the sand traps, just fill them up. Fill them up, make them into a grass bunker if you want. But if you can't maintain them, don't put them out there. And that's kind of what I feel like sometimes with college sports. If you can't maintain programs and have them compete, it's okay to cull some of that money, some of that focus, and put it somewhere where you can compete. So ULM saying, hey, scrapping a tennis team because we got to get prepared for this new NIL business, this new House of Representatives rule that's coming down. There's nothing wrong with that. Tibbs is absolutely right. This is a situation we have to prepare for. If that means filling in some sand traps, we should fill in some sand traps.
Yeah, and I think one other thing that has been thrown out there, sorry to cut you off there, Shane, but it's another great point. Everyone's like, well, Title IX. Even in the release that ULM put out, it has the verbiage in there that money for those scholarships, the 8 scholarships they had for tennis, once either those people transfer out or they graduate, that money will be allocated to women's sports for college scholarships. So the net of the spend of scholarships is still there. The only thing you're really doing is cutting out the travel. So they no longer have to bus, fly, whatever, to Georgia State for a tennis match that weekend. They no longer have to have the maintenance of the facility that they're in. That'll fall to another athletic program. So those are the type of things, coaches' salaries and everything else. Those are the type of things that are really the big cost savings that you'll see.
Yeah. In fact, I remember when beach volleyball is still getting popular, but Arkansas, the idea was maybe we should go ahead and invest in beach volleyball. I was thinking it was a pretty inexpensive sport to get into. You don't need a big roster. You just need some sand in the net, right? It's like a multi-million-dollar thing to get off the ground. You're talking about coaches, you're talking about assistants, you're talking about scholarships, you're talking about facilities that meet the grade. So yeah, my first thought was, well, tennis, how much money could they be saving with getting rid of tennis? But it's probably a substantial amount.
And the other thing about it, it's not a coincidence that there's multiple schools getting rid of tennis and women's tennis. It's, those sports that bring in a lot of international students and even beyond that, out-of-state students, when you weren't giving a ton of scholarships, when those were like partial scholarships going to players, those kids are coming in and like paying tuition and paying room and board and paying to go to your school. And it wasn't necessarily a net loss for the school as a whole. It might have been for the athletic department, but the school was benefiting by bringing these people in. And now with the new roster limits and the house settlement and that, like, you can give everybody a full scholarship. If you're given a scholarship, it's a full scholarship. It's not quite the same thing. You're not necessarily going to have these kids from overseas or out of state coming in expecting to pay tuition, expecting to do this because they want to play tennis. So that's also where it's not necessarily saving money, but you were gaining something at the university level from having that program that you're not really getting anymore.
So I can immediately hear in the back of my head, you are not alone, ULM women's tennis team. And I eagerly await. Actually, I don't eagerly await because it's a bad thing. And it's, something that I'm sure most administrators, players, parents, and so forth don't want to go through that process. A process we should go through, though, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Plugs, promos, and parting shots.
Okay. Can I go? Am I going first?
Please do.
Is that why you mentioned me by name? Okay. Hey, guys, have you watched The Accountant?
No.
Only when they were doing my taxes.
Okay. The Accountant is a movie starring Ben Affleck as a guy on the spectrum, right? He has autism. And he has somehow been forged in the crucible of life to become like not only an assassin and a martial arts expert and a deadly killing machine, but also really good at accounting. And they came up with a sequel to this movie, which is called The Accountant 2, which also stars Ben Affleck as the same character. They got a couple other guys, but they also have this team of autistic children. And they're very cute and they do cool things with the computer. But let me tell you something about it. Tibbs, you being in the world of computers, I believe Tibbs is a cybersecurity specialist. Sometimes you see in the movies, like people on computers, they're able to do just about anything with it. Remember back in the 80s, like in Superman 3 or in Weird Science, or really any movie where somebody had a computer, they can just kind of do anything they wanted with it. That's kind of what The Accountant 2 is. It's a little bit too many problems being solved with, well, let me hack into this woman's computer, or let me get into this database, or let me do this with the computer to make your life easier. It is such a lazy hack to me to be able just to know somebody who understands computers to get your character from point A to point B. Script writers, for the love of God, find another way for your character to solve a problem that isn't, let's get a bunch of autistic kids in a room together and have them compute their way to the finish line. It's not realistic. It's unfair to anybody who just has trouble opening up their computer. Thank you.
And that concludes our PSA announcement there from Jeremy. Once again, Shane, what do you have for us?
Well, I'm going to bring up war games again and kind of make that my thing to like bring up, because Jeremy's mentioning those kinds of movies. I was always obsessed with the idea that he was able to like get the payphone to ring by using the beer tab. Like for some reason, I was always just like totally obsessed with that idea when I was a little kid. So
and it seemed like it could work.
Only semi-related to what you were saying there. Yeah. My parting shot is an actual parting shot at Jeremy.
At me? All
yes, right. I feel like the reason not maintaining the sand traps must bother you so much is because sand traps are probably a pretty big part of your game, aren't they?
I do find myself in those. And quite frankly, I can get out of a sand trap that's well maintained. I can't get out of a sand trap that's full of gravel. So, yes.
Yeah. So I don't have much, but that was an actual parting shot.
That's it. Just on my golf game.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Just wow.
I'll give you a good movie review. I had a chance to go see the latest installment of Final Destination, Family Affair.
Okay.
It is as god-awful bad as you would imagine, but it is hysterically great.
Okay.
I think it's rated R, probably for the blood, guts, and gore, but it is a great comedy that I would highly recommend watching so that you know whenever you hear certain songs playing to watch out because death is coming for you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So do you have to watch all the other Final Destinations to understand and appreciate this Final Destination?
Not at all. It's very much like trying to understand NIL and what you can and can't do there, Jeremy.
Okay. Okay.